Throughout human history, people have worn masks, not just literal ones, but psychological and emotional disguises that shield their true selves from the world. These masks are often carefully constructed, layer by layer, through years of social conditioning, fear of rejection, or the need to be accepted. They are designed to create a particular impression, confidence, kindness, innocence, strength, or even vulnerability. The mask is what people want others to see. The moment is when the mask slips and reality steps forward. And in those fleeting moments, you catch a glimpse of who someone truly is beneath the performance they've perfected. The mask is incredibly persuasive. It's polished through charm, carefully chosen words, and rehearsed behaviors. People wear it in workplaces to appear more competent, in relationships to appear more likable, and in society to fit into expectations that may not align with their inner world. Masks are not always malicious. Sometimes they are simply survival strategies. Many individuals have learned early on that showing their authentic emotions can lead to ridicule, punishment, or vulnerability. So they construct an alternate persona to navigate the complexities of human interaction. This persona can become so convincing that even the wearer begins to identify with it, mistaking their defense mechanisms for their personality. But no matter how well designed the mask is, it cannot withstand every situation. There are always moments, often sudden, unscripted, and intense, when the mask is tested. These are the moments that reveal character more clearly than months of polite conversation. A moment of genuine frustration, for instance, can uncover hidden arrogance. A moment of perceived power can expose selfishness. A moment of fear can bring out deeply ingrained instincts. These moments are not planned, they emerge spontaneously, and that spontaneity is what makes them so revealing. You might see the mask in action when someone is being observed, admired, or evaluated. They maintain composure, smile at the right times, and say what sounds morally or socially acceptable, but watch them when they believe no one is watching. Observe how they treat people who can offer them nothing. Pay attention to the words they use when they're tired, stressed, or emotionally triggered. In those moments, subtle shifts occur. The tone of their voice changes, the eyes harden or soften, their patience thins, their generosity either expands or evaporates. These micro expressions and reactions are like cracks in a carefully painted facade, giving you tiny windows into the reality behind the mask. It's important to understand that the mask serves a purpose. People wear it to be safe, to be liked, to maintain social harmony. In some contexts, masks are even necessary. You cannot expect every individual to walk through the world exposing their raw emotions at all times. But the distinction lies in recognizing when the mask becomes a tool of deception rather than protection. Some people build masks so convincing that they can manipulate others, presenting an image of kindness while harboring resentment, or projecting humility while secretly craving domination. These masks can be maintained for extended periods, but they cannot survive genuine, unscripted moments forever. Moments of emotional intensity are particularly revealing because they bypass conscious control. For example, when someone experiences sudden anger, their emotional brain reacts before their rational brain can filter their response. This split-second reaction often exposes their core beliefs and tendencies. A person who values dominance might lash out with aggression. A person who carries deep insecurity might retreat or deflect. Similarly, moments of joy or relief can also reveal character, as the authentic self tends to surface when defenses are lowered. Another powerful moment that reveals the truth behind the mask occurs during unexpected challenges. When circumstances shift suddenly, when plans fail, when pressure mounts, when comfort is removed, people don't have the luxury of maintaining their curated image. Their instincts emerge, their coping mechanisms activate, and their true emotional patterns become visible. Someone who seems endlessly patient in controlled settings might become cruel when stressed. Someone who appears humble might reveal arrogance when they sense an opportunity to gain an advantage. These moments are not anomalies, they are revelations of what exists beneath the surface polish. There's also a fascinating psychological phenomenon at play over time. Masks become heavier. The longer someone maintains a false image, the more effort it requires to keep it intact. Emotional fatigue sets in, and maintaining appearances becomes increasingly difficult, especially in high stress environments. As cracks begin to form, moments of authenticity slip through more frequently, often surprising even the person wearing the mask. This is why people sometimes say things like, "I didn't mean that," after a revealing outburst. In truth, they did mean it. It simply escaped before their mask could contain it. The mask wears. The moment dynamic can be observed not only in individuals, but also in groups, organizations, and even cultures. Entire communities construct collective masks to project ideals of unity, morality, or strength, while the moments of crisis, wars, scandals, economic collapses, reveal the underlying fractures and true values. On a personal level, this dynamic is a reminder to look beyond surface impressions. Impressions are easy to manufacture, genuine moments are not. People often rely on the mask because it gives them control over how they are perceived, but control is fragile. Life is unpredictable, and the moments that reveal character are often the ones no one expects. By observing carefully, not just during rehearsed interactions, but during raw, unfiltered moments, you gain insights that words could never provide. These insights are invaluable in relationships, leadership, and personal growth because they allow you to navigate human connections with greater clarity and wisdom. Power and pressure are two of the most profound forces that strip away illusions and reveal the authentic core of human character. These forces act like mirrors, not the polished, flattering kind, but the raw, unfiltered kind that reflects both the light and the shadow within. Many people can maintain appearances when life is neutral, when stakes are low, and when their image is carefully managed. But give someone power or subject them to intense pressure, and you will witness parts of their nature that no amount of charm, pretense, or strategic behavior can conceal. These are the two great exposers, and they operate with uncanny precision. Power is often misunderstood as something that changes people, but in reality, it exposes them. When someone gains power, whether through position, influence, wealth, or social dominance, they also gain a kind of freedom. This freedom loosens the restraints that previously kept their impulses in check. When individuals no longer fear consequences or feel the need to impress, their decisions become more revealing. A kind person who gains power often uses it to uplift others, to create opportunities, to protect those who cannot protect themselves. A cruel or selfish person, however, may use power to control, exploit, or demean. The difference is not in the power itself, but in the character of the one who wields it. One of the clearest indicators of true character is how someone treats those who cannot offer them anything in return. A person who gains authority might show deference to superiors out of strategy, but how they treat subordinates, employees, or those deemed less important exposes their inner hierarchy of values. When there is no need to impress, their real attitudes surface. Some grow more generous, fair, and humble as their influence expands. Others grow arrogant, entitled, and dismissive. Power acts like a magnifying glass, enlarging traits that were always there, but perhaps hidden beneath layers of restraint. Psychologically, power alters perception. People who hold power often inhabit an environment where their opinions are rarely challenged and their flaws often ignored. Over time, this can create a sense of invincibility, and that sense strips away the subtle performance many maintain to fit social norms. It's not uncommon to see individuals become more blunt, less filtered, and more transparently self-interested once they realize their position shields them from repercussions. This phenomenon is not limited to leaders or public figures. It can occur in families, friendships, or any dynamic where influence is unevenly distributed. Pressure, on the other hand, works differently, but just as effectively. While power removes constraints, pressure applies them. It compresses the layers of personality, forcing to the surface whatever lies beneath. When someone is under stress, facing adversity, or enduring unexpected challenges, their ability to maintain a facade weakens. Carefully constructed masks start to crack because the emotional energy required to sustain them is redirected toward coping with the situation at hand. What emerges during these moments is often raw, instinctive, and deeply telling. Under pressure, people's priorities become clearer. In moments of crisis, you see whether someone chooses integrity over convenience, compassion over self-preservation, or fear over courage. Some individuals become calm, strategic, and supportive under pressure. Others become hostile, erratic, or self-centered. This is because stress bypasses rational filtering and exposes automatic responses shaped by years of conditioning, values, and emotional habits. A revealing example of pressure can be found in how people react when something goes wrong unexpectedly. Imagine someone who is usually composed and pleasant, but when faced with sudden failure, they lash out, blame others, or retreat into panic. These reactions aren't anomalies. They are glimpses into how that person processes vulnerability and challenge. Similarly, someone who remains grounded and empathetic when the environment becomes chaotic demonstrates an inner stability that cannot be faked through words or appearances. Another layer of pressure exposure involves ethical decision making in difficult situations. When everything is going well, most people agree on what is right and wrong. But when a moral choice comes with personal cost, when doing the right thing means losing status, comfort, or opportunity, pressure reveals the true hierarchy of their principles. Many betray their stated values when pressure threatens their self-interest, while others stand firm despite the consequences. These moments separate public declarations from personal convictions. What makes power and pressure such effective exposers is that they are universal and inevitable. Everyone at some point encounters situations where they hold power over others, even in small ways, and everyone faces moments of pressure that push them beyond their comfort zones. These forces are not hypothetical tests, they are woven into the fabric of daily life. A parent has power over a child, a teacher over students, a manager over employees, and within friendships, social power can shift dynamically. Likewise, pressure appears in financial struggles, health crises, interpersonal conflicts, or sudden life changes. In both power and pressure, timing plays a crucial role. Character is not revealed instantly, but through consistent patterns over time. A single act of kindness or cruelty under power may not tell the whole story, but repeated behavior establishes a clear trajectory. Likewise, one moment of panic under pressure doesn't define someone, but persistent reactions during multiple challenges reveal deep-seated tendencies. Observing these patterns without judgment, but with awareness, gives profound insight into the authenticity of those around you. Power exposes how someone behaves when they are free to act without consequences, while pressure exposes how they behave when circumstances force their hand. Together, they create a psychological X-ray that cuts through superficial impressions and reveals the structure of character underneath. When both forces operate, the layers of image and pretense peel away rapidly, leaving behind an unvarnished reflection of motives, values, and emotional maturity. These revelations are often uncomfortable, both for the observer and the person being observed, because they disrupt illusions and bring hidden truths into sharp focus. Human behavior often speaks loudest in the quietest moments. While people may craft eloquent speeches, display grand gestures, or portray a carefully cultivated image, their true nature is often revealed through the subtle language of small actions. These are the fleeting, often overlooked behaviors that occur in daily interactions. The way someone looks at a stranger, how they treat service workers, how they behave when they think no one is watching. These seemingly insignificant moments carry profound psychological weight because they bypass conscious performance and reveal the underlying patterns of a person's character. Small actions act like unconscious signatures. Unlike major decisions or rehearsed statements, they are often spontaneous and unfiltered, slipping out before the rational mind has a chance to adjust or censor. A person can pretend to be generous in public while quietly displaying selfishness in private. They can speak kindly in groups, but display impatience or condescension toward those they consider unimportant. These subtle behaviors are not accidental. They are reflections of deeply ingrained attitudes, emotional habits, and moral frameworks that guide everyday choices. Consider how someone treats people who have no power to benefit them. This is one of the clearest indicators of genuine character. It is easy to be polite to a boss, a mentor, or a friend whose approval matters, but how a person treats a waiter, a cleaner, a driver, or a stranger on the street reveals their true disposition. Politeness that is strategic can be turned on and off depending on the situation, but kindness expressed through consistent small actions is much harder to fake over time. Someone who instinctively shows respect and warmth to everyone around them, regardless of status, is revealing a deeply embedded value system that prioritizes human dignity over hierarchy. Another revealing small action is how individuals handle moments of inconvenience. When plans are disrupted, when someone makes a mistake, or when unexpected delays occur, watch carefully. Do they react with patience, understanding, and adaptability, or do they immediately become irritable, dismissive, or aggressive? The way a person responds to minor frustrations can reveal more about their emotional maturity and self-control than how they behave during major events. This is because small inconveniences don't typically activate a calculated response. They elicit genuine habits. Body language is another powerful component of the subtle language of small actions. Micro expressions, fleeting gestures, and posture shifts often communicate more truth than spoken words. For example, a forced smile might not reach the eyes. A momentary flash of contempt may cross someone's face before they regain composure, or their body might lean away slightly when they're feeling defensive or disinterested. These tiny physical cues are often involuntary, and skilled observers can pick up on them to understand what someone truly feels or thinks, even when their words suggest otherwise. Listening behavior is also a significant small action. When someone else is speaking, notice whether the listener maintains genuine engagement or merely waits for their turn to talk. Small cues, such as nodding thoughtfully, maintaining comfortable eye contact, not interrupting, and asking meaningful follow-up questions, indicate respect and presence. In contrast, constantly glancing at a phone, interrupting, or giving vague, distracted responses shows where their attention and priorities truly lie. These small actions reveal the degree to which someone values others' perspectives and whether their empathy is genuine or performative. One of the most overlooked small actions is consistency between private and public behavior. Some individuals project kindness and wisdom in social spaces, but act entirely differently when in private or around those they believe cannot hold them accountable. This duality is often exposed in tiny inconsistencies, tone of voice, casual remarks, quick reactions that betray the constructed image. The ability to maintain a facade constantly is exhausting, and over time, small slips accumulate into clear patterns. Observing these patterns requires patience, not suspicion, because authentic understanding emerges from repeated behaviors rather than isolated incidents. The subtle language of small actions also manifests in how people give or withhold credit. In group settings, notice who takes the time to acknowledge others' contributions and who subtly positions themselves as the central figure. A person who consistently elevates others through quiet recognition and humility demonstrates a secure and generous character. Meanwhile, someone who downplays others' efforts, interrupts praise, or habitually redirects attention toward themselves reveals insecurities or self-centeredness, even if their words claim otherwise. In moments of moral ambiguity, small actions become decisive indicators. For example, when someone witnesses a minor injustice, such as a colleague being unfairly dismissed or a stranger being mistreated, what they do in those small moments speaks volumes. Do they look away, laugh nervously, or take a small stand, even if it costs them nothing? True ethical alignment often shows itself not in grand heroic acts, but in small decisions where the stakes are low, but the principles are clear. The way people handle gratitude and reciprocity is another subtle but powerful signal. Some individuals express genuine appreciation for even the smallest kindness, while others treat assistance as expected or insignificant. Similarly, some quietly reciprocate without needing attention, while others ignore the contributions of those around them entirely. These patterns reveal how someone perceives relationships as mutual exchanges built on respect, or as transactional opportunities where they are the primary beneficiaries. Interestingly, small actions are also where unconscious biases emerge. People may claim to hold progressive, inclusive values, but their split-second reactions can expose hidden prejudices. The slight hesitation before shaking someone's hand the subtle shift in tone when addressing different groups, or the unconscious assumptions embedded in casual remarks. All these micro behaviors act as windows into unexamined beliefs. Recognizing these moments doesn't require cynicism. It requires attentiveness and the understanding that character lies in the details, not just the declarations. These subtle behaviors accumulate over time, forming a behavioral pattern that cannot be easily concealed. Anyone can deliver a persuasive speech or stage an impressive display of virtue once or twice, but everyday interactions are where truth consistently seeps through. It's in the repeated micro choices, the habitual ways of treating others, the instinctive emotional reactions, the unnoticed acts of respect or disregard, that the essence of a person reveals itself. Observing these small actions with clarity allows for a more accurate understanding of people's true values, emotional intelligence, and moral frameworks. Emotions are often misunderstood as obstacles to clarity, distractions from rational thought, or masks that people wear to manipulate situations. But in reality, emotions are messengers. They are signals from the unconscious, carrying vital information about internal states, unresolved conflicts, hidden desires, and unspoken boundaries. When someone experiences an emotional reaction, that emotion is not random. It is a communication from within, pointing toward something meaningful. Understanding this subtle language allows us to see beyond appearances and recognize the truths that emotions reveal, both in ourselves and in others. From early childhood, many individuals are taught to suppress or disguise their emotions. Anger is labeled as dangerous, sadness as weakness, fear as embarrassing, and vulnerability as shameful. As a result, people learn to construct emotional masks, expressions and responses that are socially acceptable but do not reflect their genuine inner experience. A person might smile while feeling broken inside, laugh nervously to hide discomfort, or remain silent while seething with resentment. These emotional masks serve as protective strategies, helping individuals navigate social expectations and avoid judgment. However, even the most skillfully worn mask cannot fully silence the original emotional message. It leaks out in tone, body language, timing, and subtle behavioral patterns. Emotions are deeply rooted in the psyche. They arise not merely from surface events, but from how those events resonate with unconscious material, past experiences, and core beliefs. For example, if someone reacts with intense anger to a minor slight, the emotion may be carrying a message about a deeper wound, perhaps an old pattern of being dismissed, betrayed, or undervalued. Similarly, if someone feels inexplicably anxious in certain situations, the emotion may be signaling a buried fear, an unmet need, or a conflict between their values and their actions. When we treat emotions as messengers, we look beyond the immediate reaction and ask, what is this feeling trying to tell me? In social interactions, emotions reveal truths that words often conceal. Consider moments of unexpected irritation, flashes of contempt, or subtle shifts in tone when a sensitive subject arises. These emotional reactions bypass the rational mind and expose underlying attitudes, insecurities, or unresolved issues. Even when someone tries to mask their feelings, emotions manifest through micro expressions, brief involuntary facial movements that occur before conscious control kicks in. A quick tightening of the jaw, a flicker in the eyes, a subtle shift in posture. These small signals betray emotional truths more accurately than carefully chosen words ever could. Emotions also act as internal boundary markers. When someone feels uneasy around a person or situation, that discomfort is often an emotional message indicating that something is off, even if the mind cannot immediately articulate why. Conversely, feelings of safety, warmth, and trust are emotional signals that a situation aligns with one's deeper needs and values. Many people ignore these emotional messages because they have been conditioned to prioritize logic over intuition. But ignoring emotions often leads to misjudgments and regrets. Listening to emotional messengers with discernment allows for more authentic decision making and deeper interpersonal understanding. Another crucial aspect of emotions as messengers is their role in revealing authenticity during emotionally charged moments. When people experience strong emotions, their masks tend to slip. For example, anger often breaks through polite facades, revealing power dynamics, hidden grievances, or unmet expectations. Sadness may surface unexpectedly, exposing vulnerability that someone has tried to hide. Joy can burst through a guarded demeanor, revealing genuine connection and shared humanity. These emotional moments are windows into a person's inner world, offering insights that might otherwise remain hidden beneath layers of control and performance. The way individuals express or repress emotions also tells a story. Some people externalize emotions dramatically, making their inner states highly visible. Others internalize emotions, appearing calm, while turmoil brews beneath the surface. Neither style is inherently better or worse, but both reveal patterns shaped by upbringing, cultural influences, and personal coping strategies. An individual who avoids displaying sadness might have learned that vulnerability leads to pain. Someone who erupts in anger over minor issues might be carrying unresolved feelings that have nowhere else to go. By observing how emotions are expressed, we can trace their origins and meanings more accurately. Emotions often reveal contradictions between what people say and what they truly feel. Someone might verbally express support for an idea while their body language conveys tension and resistance. Another person might claim indifference, yet their facial expressions betray disappointment or hurt. These discrepancies are not mere slips, they are emotional messages signaling internal conflict. Paying attention to these incongruities allows us to understand others more deeply, moving beyond surface level interactions into the realm of genuine psychological insight. Furthermore, emotions connect the conscious and unconscious mind. The unconscious holds vast amounts of information, memories, and desires that do not always reach conscious awareness directly. Emotions act as bridges, bringing unconscious material to the surface through feelings rather than words. Dreams, for instance, often evoke strong emotions that reflect in hidden aspects of the psyche. Similarly, sudden emotional reactions in waking life can indicate that something from the unconscious has been triggered by a present event. Treating emotions as messengers helps decode these messages and integrate unconscious insights into conscious understanding. In relationships, emotional messages are especially significant. A partner's irritation may not simply be about a specific comment, but could indicate feelings of neglect or deeper insecurities. A friend's withdrawal might mask shame or fear of rejection. By learning to read emotional signals rather than taking expressions at face value, we create space for empathy, meaningful dialogue, and authentic connection. This requires patience and emotional literacy, the ability to recognize, interpret, and respond to emotional cues without judgment or impulsive reaction. Emotions are also crucial in revealing self, deception. People can rationalize almost anything, convincing themselves that they are fine when they are not, or that a situation is acceptable when it violates their deeper values. But emotions often refuse to cooperate with these rationalizations. Persistent unease, irritability, sadness, or bursts of anger are emotional messengers signaling that something within is misaligned. Ignoring these messages might provide temporary comfort, but the emotions eventually resurface, often in intensified forms. When understood correctly, emotions offer a continuous stream of honest, immediate feedback from the inner world. They are not obstacles to be suppressed, nor are they mere performances to manipulate others. They are living signals that, when decoded, reveal truths that words often conceal. By recognizing emotions as messengers rather than masks, we open a pathway to deeper self-awareness, clearer perception of others, and more authentic human interactions. Human beings are remarkably skilled at presenting curated versions of themselves, especially in short bursts of interaction. A single act of kindness can be staged, a single moment of composure can be rehearsed, and a single confession can be strategically timed. But over time, patterns form, and patterns do not lie. Repetition is one of the most powerful tools for understanding true character because it bypasses the performance and exposes the underlying structure of behavior. When actions, reactions, and choices repeat consistently across different situations, they reveal truths that isolated moments cannot. Repetition is like a psychological fingerprint. Every person has habits, tendencies, and emotional rhythms that surface again and again. These repetitions may appear subtle at first, but they accumulate, forming a clear behavioral map. For example, someone may apologize once for being late, and it may seem sincere. But if lateness happens repeatedly, despite promises to improve, the repetition reveals a deeper pattern, perhaps a lack of respect for others' time, disorganization, or an unconscious need to control situations by arriving on their own terms. Similarly, repeated patterns of kindness, reliability, or humility indicate stable internal qualities that aren't dependent on circumstance or performance. One of the most revealing aspects of repetition is how it shows the difference between intention and habit. People often intend to act in certain ways. They may intend to be respectful, responsible, or honest, but their repeated behaviors show what their actual priorities and tendencies are. A single generous act may be intentional, but consistent generosity in small, unnoticed ways over time indicates a deeply ingrained value. A single outburst might be dismissed as a bad day, but repeated angry reactions under stress point to underlying emotional regulation issues or unresolved inner conflicts. Repetition strips away excuses and explanations, leaving the raw patterns exposed. In relationships, repetition plays a crucial role in distinguishing between words and reality early in any connection. Whether romantic, platonic, or professional, people often show their best selves. Promises are made, charming behaviors are displayed, and attentiveness is heightened. But with time, habitual patterns emerge. Someone who repeatedly dismisses your concerns, even in small ways, reveals their true level of respect for your emotions. Someone who consistently follows through on their commitments, even when it's inconvenient, demonstrates reliability that isn't dependent on mood or context. Observing repeated behavior over time allows for a more accurate understanding of someone's values and priorities than listening to verbal assurances alone. Repetition also exposes hidden motives that may not be immediately visible. A person might offer help once as a genuine act of kindness, but if they consistently help only when it benefits them socially or personally, the repeated pattern uncovers the transactional nature of their behavior. Similarly, someone might act humble publicly, but if their repeated private actions involve boasting, controlling, or seeking validation, the pattern tells a different story. Single instances can be deceptive, patterns rarely are. The power of repetition is closely linked to habit formation. Much of human behavior operates on autopilot, shaped by habits formed over years of experience and conditioning. People can consciously alter their behavior for short periods, especially when they are being observed or evaluated, but they cannot sustain inauthentic actions indefinitely without emotional strain. Over time, their natural habits resurface, creating a repetitive pattern that reflects their true psychological makeup. This is why observing behavior across different contexts, work, friendships, family life, moments of stress or joy, provides a more complete picture than relying on isolated events. Another key dimension of repetition is emotional consistency. People's emotional responses often follow patterns that mirror their inner landscape. Someone who habitually reacts defensively to feedback reveals a deep-seated sensitivity to criticism. Someone who repeatedly shows compassion toward others, even in small ways, demonstrates an authentic empathic nature. These emotional patterns are not created overnight, they are the result of accumulated experiences, belief systems, and internal narratives that shape how individuals perceive and respond to the world. Recognizing emotional repetition helps decode the deeper layers of a person's psyche beyond their outward behavior. Repetition is also an effective way to detect manipulation or inauthenticity. Manipulative individuals often rely on cycles of behavior: kindness followed by cruelty, attention followed by withdrawal, promises followed by betrayals, to keep others off balance. These cycles, once recognized, form a repetitive pattern that reveals the manipulator's strategy more clearly than any single incident could. Similarly, individuals who are genuinely kind or trustworthy display consistent patterns that don't depend on manipulation. Their repetition builds trust through predictability and stability. In professional settings, repetition exposes work ethic, leadership style, and integrity. A colleague may impress with a single brilliant idea, but repeated reliability, attention to detail, or collaborative behavior demonstrates enduring competence. Conversely, repeated excuses, missed deadlines, or dismissive communication patterns indicate underlying issues that occasional bursts of effort cannot mask. Leaders, too, reveal their true values through repeated actions, how they consistently treat their team, make decisions, handle pressure, and respond to setbacks. Titles and speeches may create impressions, but repeated behavior defines reputation. The passage of time is an essential factor in observing repetition. True patterns emerge slowly through everyday moments rather than grand events. This is why long-term observation provides far more insight than initial impressions. A single conversation can be misleading, but months of observing how someone navigates daily life, how they treat others, handle challenges, maintain or break promises, creates a coherent picture. Time strips away the novelty and reveals the underlying structure of personality. Another fascinating aspect is that people themselves often remain unaware of their repetitive patterns. Habits become so ingrained that individuals may not consciously recognize how often they repeat certain behaviors. This unconscious repetition can reveal inner conflicts or unresolved psychological themes. For example, someone who repeatedly sabotages their own opportunities may be reenacting a learned pattern from childhood. Someone who consistently seeks approval may be caught in a repetitive loop of trying to compensate for an old emotional wound. Observing these repetitions allows for deeper psychological insight, not only into others but also into oneself. Repetition reveals truth because it is difficult to fake consistently. Short-term deception is possible, but long-term patterns inevitably reflect the authentic self. Over time, repetition exposes where words and actions align or diverge, where intentions meet reality, and where hidden aspects of character emerge through behavior. This makes repetition one of the most reliable ways to understand people, not through isolated moments, but through the rhythms they live out repeatedly in their daily lives.